Well, hello, friends, neighbors. It's WeatherBrains, episode number 721. This is for November 11th, Veterans Day, 2019. Thanks to all of our veterans for this service that are listeners that are not listeners. All right, so this is the pre-show. You know what that is. That is a marvelous, magical time where we share boring personal stories, humorous anecdotes, and we occasionally say very outrageous things. And this is where I get all the guests on and get the embed codes correct, which I think we have just done. And yeah, a lot of us are kind of dealing with some active weather with this Arctic blast coming through. A lot of snow falling to the north of where we are down here in the Deep South, snowing in Indianapolis and Cincinnati and Detroit. Little Rock has seen some snow flurries down toward Louisville. And that front is blowing on through. And even down here in the Deep South, we might see a few patches of sleet or freezing rain after midnight tonight. So let's see if we can bring our other guests online here. And this is so much easier compared to Google Hangouts. We were kind of depressed that Google Hangouts went away, and now we're not, because this works better. The platform is Zoom, and we do not get paid for plugging them. In fact, we pay them. But I like it when something works. It just works. So we are going to get everybody on here. I think Dr. John is out. I know that Troy is dealing with some weather. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's everybody. So they'll be joining us here in just a second. Yeah, kind of a light day today. This is the first time I've not had a school talk since school started, because there was no school today. And I actually felt what it was like to work just like 9 or 10 hours in a day instead of 16. It was different, almost like having a whole day off. I actually walked down the street that we live on and looked at the fall colors and just had some fresh air, and it was a very good morning. But back to the grind tomorrow. Selfish personal plugs. If you're interested in getting a copy of my book, Weathering Life, spanbook.com with 2 N's. That's the website. Next book signing is Saturday in Opelika, Alabama, Lee County, next door to Auburn. We're going to be at the public library there from 9 until noon. So if you get a chance, come by and see us. And then from there, it gets even busier as we get into the Christmas season. 'Tis the season. Bill, have you done your Christmas shopping yet? And he can't hear a word I'm saying. Or maybe nobody can hear a word I'm saying.
No, I can hear you. It's the same problem with the headphones. I don't understand what the problem is.
Don't know.
Really strange.
The AirPod things, and it's working fine.
Yeah, I'll try that real quick.
Got a fairly complicated audio setup here because I have to do audio hijack to make all the magic happen, play all of the sounds like this. Whoop.
Now, WeatherBrains is tracking the tracker. We track what the consultants track, so you can track along with us. Does that make sense? Here's WeatherBrains lead tracker, Kevin Selly.
Oh, yeah.
I think my computer's broken.
Well, go get it fixed.
It won't work with any external headphones.
What kind of jack? Like the little 1/8-inch jack on the side, or if you have to do one of those dongle things?
No, it's still an 1/8 or whatever jack, but even the Bluetooth won't work.
That's odd.
Other stuff. Yeah, it's 2 weeks in a row though. I need to invite Mr. Sider, the head of the AMS, or the executive director of the AMS.
Say a few
last minute guest switch here.
Was he our guest tonight?
Yeah. Other lady, my lady from Vanity Fair or whatever got sick.
Ooh.
All
So
right.
you know there is a that little microphone button. You can pick your speaker. I don't know if you played with
Yeah,
that.
I did. And when as soon as I go to the headphones, it goes quiet. When I put it back on the computer, it's silenced out, but it pull the volume back up and it's fine. Weird.
So, Aubrey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good.
What kind of shirt you got there? Is that a
So
Twister shirt?
I made this for my Dancing with the Stars event. So it's a couple of tornadoes over the mountains with a few gold stars, and it says Team Aubrey.
Wow, nice.
Getting fancy over here with this Dancing with the Stars stuff.
One more week. We're down to less than a week. Oh, they
You'll
have
miss it. You know you'll miss it.
maybe a little bit, but I won't miss the injuries, the bruised side, and
I bet.
laying on a heating pad at night. They have a full-blown performance. They pulled one of our anchors in, so she's going to be like the Erin Andrews and do backstage stuff. We've got local professional dancers doing a whole thing. I mean, they're going all out this year.
Is this thing going to be
Erin
streamed
Andrews was
live?
actually on there. So was she doing Erin Andrews like being a dancer, or doing Erin Andrews like being a sideline reporter?
No, she'll be like a sideline reporter, kind of with our main anchor is the MC, so she'll kind of be assisting him and doing some behind the scenes stuff and interviews, I guess, before and after dance and everything. So it won't be streamed live, and I think that's because the music aspect, because we don't have the rights to all the music and everything.
Yeah.
So, but I can post a video afterwards and see how long it takes them to
Yeah,
take it
they'll
down.
get that takedown notice real quick.
Yeah.
Your video has been flagged for copyright material. You'll get 50
punched up-
lashes and 10
Punched up your
demerits.
page, Aubrey, and saw your partner. I expect you to do a lift of him.
We've got two.
You're lifting him.
Not quite.
Yeah, he looks like a huge guy.
He's a big guy, and I was kind of showed a few people I'm completely black and blue on this side, and
Oh,
it's
no.
because the lift, it's not like a two-handed lift. I mean, he's literally grabbing me with one, as you might say, a big bear paw. So
Wow.
so, and I'm not exactly a tiny person like one of our other dancers who's like barely 5 foot. So so yeah, so
Well-
there's two lifts in there.
That's exciting.
As long as I don't fall on my face.
And it's
Okay.
next week?
Sunday.
Cool. I punched up your page. I have to remember to donate. I didn't do it when I punched it up. I intended
Well,
to, but
I appreciate that.
if I don't, remind me.
Well, here's the cool thing.
I
So
should just do it while I'm sitting here, shouldn't I?
all of the totals will go in through Friday by 3:00, and then anything that comes in after Friday at 3, no one knows until the night of the dance. So if some people are like
Oh.
holding on to checks, or you have some last minute donations,
Yeah.
and that can kind of play with the order of dance, but also they give out a couple of awards the night of, and sometimes there are big surprises. I think the guy last year who won came in with like a surprise 5,000 more than everyone was thinking. So
Oh.
so
Where's
anything
the
can
page
change.
again?
WHSV.com/dance.
That's right.
We're all going there right now.
So
See if we
so
can bring them down.
Kelly's and Kelly and I are actually good friends. Her and I have been hanging out on Tuesday nights because she has late dance practice. So she'll come in here, wait on me, and we'll go grab a drink on Tuesday night. So her and I are friends, but that girl keeps bringing in all this money. Good grief.
Man, you've raised almost $13,000. Wow.
Did not expect to be doing that well. So let me tell you, if you ever want to hold a fundraiser, bingo, do a bingo night. That was bingo night was amazing. That brought in a lot of money.
Where's my phone?
Kevin, you
I
okay?
don't have my phone. Our main anchor just walked in the front door. I'm sitting in the lobby, but she's we've had wind gusts to 60 miles an hour today.
Ooh.
She's generally pretty well coiffed and put together, and she's not right
put the
now.
camera on her. Put the
around.
camera
Wait,
on her.
Mel, come here. I don't know if you can see through here.
Oh,
yeah.
poor thing.
Let's see.
Wow.
Wait, she's got to be able to see herself here. Hang on.
Wow.
Okay, there we go. Is that working?
Hey.
That's Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
How windy is it?
I'll give you $1,000 if you go on TV that way. Yeah.
That's easy money. I'd do it in a
that
heartbeat.
Yeah. I forgot my phone. I got to go back. Bill, we have to talk about scheduling, but I can't now. I was going to punch up the calendar. There
Yeah.
are two young ladies, talented young women they were in the hazardous weather test bed like Aubrey was, last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I invited them on the show because I met them. But one of them does mornings, and so I'm trying to punch up the calendar here. Don't we have like a special early Thursday thing or something
We do.
in December?
We do. It is on Thursday, December 19th.
Thursday, December 19th. And you don't have anybody?
Don't have anybody at all, Kevin.
Okay, well, let me pencil that in, and it would probably be one. Oh no, it's a regular time. I thought it was an early time. Don't
Well,
have
we
an
can
early
do
shift?
it. Says 6:30 on the calendar.
Oh no, the 30th is 6:30.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's right.
So
It's at the regular time unless James deems it to be at a different time.
the 19th.
Because we can
If
do it
it-
at any time since we don't have to go on the air.
Oh, okay. Let me. I may move the 19th up if nobody has an objection. Does that bother you, James?
No.
You broke up. No, it doesn't. Okay. I may change.
Will they be the weather brain or the panelists or everything? Kevin?
I kind of figured it would be fun to have them update us on if Aubrey's going to be there, hopefully too.
What
It'd be
date?
interesting. The 19th
Of
might be
November?
early. No, December.
Oh, December. Oh, yeah.
I thought it would be interesting for all of you, the three of you at least, to talk and see. I mean, they'll do what you did, tell us what they did. But I thought it'd be interesting to see what changes have been made
Yeah, that'd be great.
in the year's time, if that makes sense.
And we have to make sure Kim's on.
Right. Okay. I forgot my phone. I'm gonna go get my phone.
Hey, Keith, can you hear us? And we can't hear you. I don't know if you're muted or the mute button is down. Yeah, I think you're muted. The mute button's down there, at least on mine. It's in the lower left.
Right. Is that better?
There we go.
Oh, loud and clear.
Great.
I think when you join these things, you're automatically muted.
Yes,
so
I'd
you have to
forgotten about
go
that. Yep.
Unmute. We've used Google Hangouts here forever, and Google Hangouts over the air went away earlier this year, so we converted to Zoom, and we've had much better luck with getting guests on, and it's just been a better platform. So I know that Dr. John is down. Welcome to our television viewers, by the way. It's 30 minutes after the hour. We'll start the show in a second. Troy, you got some weather issues, but thanks for multitasking tonight.
Thank you, sir. I'll kind of come and go, and we'll tell you more about it in a few minutes.
Yeah, let's get this thing started. So let me get the recorders going here. All right, here we go in 5, 4, 3. Whoops, wrong page. Hang on. About to play. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is WeatherBrains episode number 721. This is the weekly show all about weather. This is for November 11th, 2019, Veterans Day. We salute all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. My father-in-law was a retired Army colonel, worked at the Pentagon, retired, came to the University of Alabama to be the professor of military science. And that's when I met his daughter. And before you know it, we were hitched. I will say I was a little nervous asking him if I could marry his daughter, but it worked out well. Anyway, he had so many stories to tell. He served in World War II Korea, Vietnam, Pentagon. He was in Germany for a while. He talked with President Kennedy on a daily basis from the Berlin Wall. I love to speak with our veterans, especially the ones that have served for a long time. But anyway, thank you for your service. And thanks to our regulars and our guests for their service tonight. The lovely Aubrey Urbanowitz is getting so close to her big performance with Dancing with the Stars. How close are you?
Oh my gosh, we're this close, James. We're this close.
So it's Sunday, right?
Oh my gosh, it's Sunday. It's the 17th. I've been practicing pretty much every day. In fact, I have a sheet of paper that I cover camera 5 up with, so the control room can't see my ridiculousness. And I practice after eating dinner. I come in here and I practice. I don't practice with my music because I want to kind of perfect some things, but it's coming along, and it'll be a long week, and I'll be excited. By this time next week, it'll be all over with.
But let's plug how people can help and participate to help.
Of course. So this local Dancing with the Stars here in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So what they do is they have selected a local charity. So it's a nonprofit daycare, and the daycare is basically based off a sliding fee. So all the kids in the community have the same opportunity, and the kids pay based off of the parents' income. So all the kids, again, offer the same opportunity, and this is going for them to build a new building. They can expand services and serve more kids in the community. So it's a really great thing. And I have my tornado shirt that I've been wearing to some of my events, which is basically a couple of dancing tornadoes over a mountain with some nice gold stars there. So if you wanted to help out, I am in 4th place right now. I've raised over $12,000. So I'm almost up to 13, which with some things coming in this week should be over 13. You can go to whsv.com/dance. And I know sometimes this time of the year, we've got the holidays coming up, things can be tough. So all you have to do, if you can scrounge around maybe $9, because I just celebrated my 9-year anniversary here at WHSV, and you can throw a few bucks my way. Every dollar helps.
There you go. Great
It goes
cause.
to kids.
And
It goes to kids.
yeah. So get there and do it.
James's donation is going to put you over 50K.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to write the check right now. That's fantastic. That's great. And thank you, Aubrey, for taking, I know that takes a lot of your time, and you have been through a lot. So thank you. You heard the voice of Kevin Selly in Wichita Falls, Texas. A little windy and cold out there, huh?
Oh my goodness, it was amazing. One of the things I love, the maps I love to show on TV when a cold front comes through is, that 24-hour temperature change that the computer figures for you. And I don't think I've seen it this high here in my 5 years here. At 4 o'clock, we were 47 degrees colder than 24 hours previous. But the winds, the winds have been amazing. The northern third of our DMA is north of the Red River, so it's Oklahoma counties, and probably close to 24 LSRs of winds approaching or exceeding gusts 60 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, really something.
And so you've blown that cold air down into Austin, Texas, and Troy, you're dealing with some issues tonight.
Thanks, Kevin. Just letting you know, I appreciate it, buddy.
It's my pleasure to do so.
Well, we kind of got into this pattern where we're a little bit more on the edge of that wedge of cold airs that's moved past Kevin and on into our area. And we have winter weather advisories now for counties in the Texas Hill Country, just west of Austin. Right here where I am, I'm at 32.4. That is the official Weather Service MMTS co-op station thermometer here. And I'm watching sleet and rainfall outside here in Austin and northwest Austin, and getting reports of glazing on trees and vehicles out over the hill country, a little bit west of Austin now. And the question is, how far is that going to come into the corridor? I will tell you that into the I-35 corridor, into the metro area of Austin, temperatures have fallen more than we thought they would by this time. We had earlier thought it would be probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning before we saw temperatures approaching the freezing mark. I'm looking at radar. There's a lot of stuff to the west of us, some reflectivity, which has primarily been associated with the sleet that we're seeing out to the west of us, passing disturbance on top of this wedge of cold air. So around here, considering it's not even Thanksgiving yet, really, really unusual, James, and all. And just kind of watching it here. I'll be kind of coming and going occasionally tonight. So
Yeah, our weekend guy, Michael Bowling, he dug into the climate records, and the coldest November temperature for Wichita Falls is 14, and we're forecasting 17 tonight. And if the wind dies off in time, I think we might do 15 or even 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness. And we're going to get that cold air down here in the southeast United States after midnight tonight, watching the sleet and a bit of snow coming down toward Memphis and Nashville. So we'll talk about that later. But Bill Murray, we have a very important guest that we need to bring in right now.
And one that we're very thankful for, because our guest tonight from California that we're going to talk about the fires out there, Nicola Twilley, got sick and couldn't join us. So I reached out to Keith Snyder, who's the executive director of the AMS, in a huff last night and said, Keith, can you join us? And he immediately graciously said yes. So we've been meaning to have you on for a while, Keith, and it's good to have you here tonight to talk about the annual meeting coming up and lots of other stuff. So how are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're never far away from our thoughts with all the cool stuff you have going on with the AMS. So tell us a little important meeting this year, huh?
That's right. This is we're wrapping up our 100th anniversary year. The AMS was founded in December of 1919, so we're just about to celebrate our 100th birthday, and this January is our 100th annual meeting. So quite an important one for us. We're having it in Boston, which is our headquarters location. It's the first time we've ever had an annual meeting in Boston. We're a little nervous about the weather. January can be a little tricky at times, but it did seem appropriate to have this particular meeting occurring in the town that we call home.
Yeah, so give us some of the highlights of special things that'll be going on, Keith.
There'll be a lot of special activities. One thing, the annual meeting is a collection of scientific conferences. So first and foremost, there's going to be an enormous amount of science that's presented at this meeting. There are over 30 separate scientific conferences and symposia that are part of the meeting. And each of them is doing something a little special to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the AMS. And so virtually every conference and symposium will have sessions that have historical aspects to them. So we'll be looking back at how the science has progressed over the last 100 years. We are just finishing up a special monograph on 100 years of the progress of science, celebrating our 100th anniversary. That's available freely online. So that's an open access monograph that's available. But there'll be special sessions at many of the annual meeting venues that address things that are part of some of those chapters for that monograph too, talking about the progress in satellites, the progress in hydrology and oceanography, and all of the other aspects that make up our science. So lots of history, celebrating that progress, lots of looking forward to what we're looking at for the next 100 years. And I think just a lot of celebration. It really is a very special event for us. I think one of the biggest things we're looking forward to the most is for those of you who have been to an annual meeting, the Wednesday evening of the annual meeting was always an awards banquet where about 15 or 1600 people gathered in one room for the special banquet that honored the folks who'd gotten awards. We're not doing that this year. This year on that Wednesday evening, we're doing a big party. And so we're handling the awards process very differently than we've had in the past. I think it's going to be really special and really honor those award winners in ways that are very significant, but at the same time, that is freeing up that Wednesday evening. So we really can just have a big celebration and a wonderful party that will be part of this meeting for us.
Hey, Keith, can you tell us any details about the founding? Was it, a bunch of stooges like us sitting around doing a podcast or what?
That's right. It was folks sitting around on Zoom talking about what they wanted to do. There was an organization called the New England Meteorological Society that was active in the late 1800s and maybe crossed just over into the early 1900s that had many of the folks associated with the New England area as part of it. That disbanded at some point around the early 1900s. And then just after World War I, a lot of scientific organizations were founded. That's when the AGU became the US representation to IUGG. Many other scientific societies were formed at about that same time, and AMS was sort of formed out of the remnants of that New England Meteorological Society. So Charles Franklin Brooks, who had been active in that New England Meteorological Society, helped form AMS in 1919. He was the director of the Blue Hill Observatory just south of Boston, was a professor at Harvard, worked at the Smithsonian for a while, very eminent meteorologist in his own right at that time, but really got together with some other terrific folks of that era and really felt that there should be a national organization to work on meteorology. And that was sort of the founding of AMS. And so we do have roots that go back to the Boston area from that original founding, but many other connections to the New England area as we move forward as well.
That's really interesting. I wonder, do you have any idea what were the environmental conditions that were leading to so many organizations at that time?
Well, we've looked at that a little bit because it is interesting. There are many scientific societies who have their 100th anniversaries right around now. A few in the last several years, a few in the years coming up. And again, it was that post-World War I era when international cooperation became a much bigger issue. The League of Nations was formed, all those sorts of things. But again, in the scientific world, there was a real sense that scientific organizations really could help foster an environment for progress in science. And so the Optical Society of America and many other societies like that were all formed right around the same time. And so you really find a lot of 1918, 1919, 1920 starting dates for physical science organizations.
Very cool. You guys had announced a rate change a few weeks back, which generated a lot of discussion in my circles. You want to fill us in?
Sure. What we implemented with this year's dues renewal is a tiered dues for membership that's based on individuals' income, and so it's an opportunity for us to allow individuals who are perhaps not earning as much money in their, especially for early career people, to participate fully in AMS and not have that be something that represents an impediment to participating. And so we have these sort of various tiers of membership so that, again, early career people can be a member for as little as $35 a year. And then as you go up in income, then your dues rate moves up correspondingly. It's a kind of a forward-looking approach. There actually are several organizations that are in the process of adopting this type of dues package because it does allow better participation among a broader spectrum of individuals. And it's not just early career people. Meteorology, as you know, has a wide range of salaries. Some folks, even in mid-career, are in positions where their salaries are not terribly high. And we wouldn't want them to not be able to take advantage of what the society has to offer. And similarly, folks when they've retired may be in positions where paying the regular dues would have been something that was a bit of a burden. Whereas having these lower rates, if their income levels are lower, really provides that opportunity for participation.
What percentage of overall budget is the dues?
It's a relatively small. It's less than 10%. So it's our budget. Our overall budget's about 17 million, and the dues represents a little over $1 million of that. So it's not a huge fraction of that. Most of our income really is coming from the activities around the publications and the scientific conferences as well as some other smaller activities that sort of collectively add up to things. But dues is certainly a very important source of income for us and supports a lot of what we do that's directly providing value to our members. But it's not the single most or even close to the single most important aspect of income for us.
Yeah. 17 is a big number. Could you toss $1 million toward Aubrey's dance thing, maybe?
Yes.
I was actually thinking the other way around. I was thinking, well, that's what we ought to do is to do a Dancing with the Stars type activity at the annual meeting and see if we can have that be a way to get more scholarship opportunities for students and more travel support for folks who need that.
I'm telling you, the best fundraiser to a bingo night.
That's it.
Hey,
You
Keith.
did it on that Wednesday night there, Keith.
Hey, Keith, Troy here. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Troy.
One thing that I noticed, and I'm kind of interested in, and I know you don't keep track of this necessarily moment by moment, but is how quick really we got response on the hotel blocks. I want to see what kind of response is from what I'm hearing on the outside. People are really excited about this Boston meeting, and to see the hotel blocks really go pretty quickly.
It was kind of an amazing thing that when our hotel blocks opened up, some of those hotels filled up like within a few hours. It was crazy how fast that happened. We do have a lot of hotels that are part of our blocks, and we've added a few in more of the downtown area that we will have shuttle buses to work between the convention center and the hotels. But yeah, there's every indication that this is going to be a very big meeting, and I know lots of people are very excited about it. And I think it really will be a very special event. It also offers an opportunity for people who go to the meeting to come over and actually see AMS headquarters, which is a significant building. We are blessed to be headquartered in a building that is a historically important one. It's right on Beacon Hill. It was the residence of the third mayor of Boston. It was built in 1806. Wow. It is architecturally significant. It has a lot of history to it. It's a very cool place. And we're really hoping that lots of people who come to this meeting will have an opportunity to go over to headquarters and see it, because it's worth it. Just even if you care nothing about meteorology, the building itself is really quite an extraordinary building.
Wow, that's great. I'm really excited about it. Let's put it that way. So
yes.
Are you going, Troy?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, well, Keith knows, but my committee that I chair, which is the CBM Exam Review Committee, we're actually having our board meeting during the meeting, and I'm excited because it's been a few years, Keith, since I've had the chance to be in Boston. I've had a chance. I would encourage people to go for the visit to AMS headquarters. I've had the chance to do that once before. Yes. Truly amazing place, and really looking forward to an amazing meeting.
Yes, it really is going to be quite spectacular, I think.
You know, I go to Boston every year, every summer, sometimes twice a year. I have never been inside the AMS headquarters building. I mean, I have walked right past it, but I had somewhere I had to be, and we had to hurry up, and there was no time. So, and I am 87.2% sure I'm coming in January.
Yeah.
It can be a little. So yeah, I'm about to say I'll be staying in Manhattan probably, but that's okay. No, I know my buddies over at the over in the Back Bay. I can always stay over there, but I'll ride the T. See, but most of you guys don't want to ride the T. I'll get on the train, man. I know that Boston train system better than anybody.
Yeah.
I will ride.
It always takes you to Fenway. That's the only problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it. So, but Keith, I was going to ask, a lot of people that listen to this show, I think many of them have been to an NWA annual meeting. Mm-hmm. The AMS annual meeting is a lot bigger and a lot more complicated, and it can be overwhelming. So, I think a lot of young people do want to go to this. So what are some tips on preparing to go? I know that you've got the app. What are some of the other things people can do now to get ready to attend the sessions that they're interested in?
Well, I think the app certainly is a big part of that, and I think it really takes a little bit of preparation. The NWA meetings are always terrific, but a real difference between the NWA meeting and the AMS meeting is at any given time, we've got 30 or 40 different sessions going on. And so it's really easy to get overwhelmed. It's really easy to feel as though you've got so many different choices that you're bound to make the wrong one, or you're bound to miss something that's really important that you wanted to see. And so that's where I think looking at the app or looking at the program online on the website gives you an opportunity to sort of map out your day, figure out which sessions are the ones you most want to go to, and really kind of lay out a plan for how you progress during the course of a day, and then execute that plan. One good thing about the AMS sessions is that all of them are recorded. And so if you find that you're in a position where there's two things you really want to see, you always have the opportunity to go to whichever one perhaps is most convenient for you at the meeting, and then know that a few weeks after the meeting, all of those sessions will be available online, and you'll be able to go online and view the recorded version of that session. When I'm at the annual meeting, I'm in so many other committee meetings, I get to almost none of the scientific sessions, and it's a real disappointment. But what I do is I then afterwards go back and spend my lunch hour or something going and being able to view sessions that I would have liked to have been able to participate in, but didn't get a chance to do that. So that really is I think the biggest opportunity. So again, I think take advantage of the fact that it is an incredible smorgasbord of opportunities, but do try to do that extra bit of homework so you don't get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of things that are out there.
But Keith, one thing, and I'll give y'all a plug for what you do, and tell me if I'm wrong this year. I'll probably be wrong, but I've been involved in a couple of the plannings of the local meetings here in Austin, the annual meetings. The AMS is unique in a way that they actually have a first time you've ever been to a conference.
Yep.
At least we have in the past, and we have a session set aside for that, for people that have never been to an annual meeting to go in, usually on that Sunday, and take advantage of that. And I think that's a great thing the AMS does.
It is. It's very nice. Yeah, that Sunday afternoon of that first day of the meeting, there is a session, and it's nice in a couple of ways. One is it allows somebody as a first time attendee to get a sense that they're not alone. There are other people in that room who are also first time attendees, and I've actually seen some terrific friendships be sparked just in that session. People who were there for the first time and meet somebody else who's there for the first time. And that takes a little bit of that uncertainty or anxiety, perhaps, out of the kind of the scope of the meeting, and it does sort of start to bring it down to a level where you can feel more comfortable.
Keith, go ahead, Bill.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, so how many other sub-conferences are going on here? The broadcasters meeting is going on. To tell us about all of the different sub-conferences going on too.
Oh boy, it's a very long list. There are conferences on climate change. There's a symposium or a conference on education that covers both K through 12 education as well as university level education. There's a conference on hydrology. Let's see, I'm trying to think what else there. I think several named symposia are there, which are one-day events that honor the work of specific scientists. So those are things you can look forward to. Again, lots of different scientific subdisciplines are part of that. I think the broadcast conference is going to be particularly good this year. And then another kind of level of special activities is there are special presidential sessions that have been put together. And this year, I think there's some really interesting ones that are bringing in policymakers from the area, because there's a lot of interesting things happening within Massachusetts and Boston dealing with issues of climate change and other environmental activities. And then also there's some special sessions that are bringing in people from the financial world. looking at risk management and how the financial markets deal with weather and climate risk. And so those are some really special sessions that we're doing because that kind of expertise happens to be in Boston, and we're really tapping into some of the local expertises there. So I think there's some really spectacular sessions that are being formed that are just sort of one-offs. They're not regular conferences. They're just like 1 or 2 or perhaps 3-hour special sessions that have been put together on these very specific topics.
So Keith, how many people normally come to an annual meeting?
Normal, it's about 4,500.
And how many
We're
this
expecting
year?
probably something more like 5,500 for this one.
Okay.
So a good bit bigger than prior meetings.
Now, will there be a Weatherfest associated with it again this year?
Yes, yeah, we are planning a Weatherfest that would be on that Sunday of the beginning of the annual meeting, which is an opportunity for people from the general public to come in and do things. That's looking a little smaller than some years. So we're kind of seeing how that all shakes out. We're still kind of in the planning stages right now.
Awesome.
Keith, let me shift gears a second. You said something a minute ago which rang my bell. You said special presidential sections or something, but I would love to hear your perspective on Sharpie Gate from an AMS.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what to say about that. Certainly, that was a time when our community was in the news in ways that are perhaps not as useful as we might like. But I think it also was an opportunity for the dedication and the hard work that that folks at the National Weather Service and NOAA put in to really be recognized as well. So yeah, that was just a kind of a bizarre situation.
Is AMS doing anything post-mortem on that? Any investigations, any follow-ups, anything? I know some, various people are, but what about the organization?
No, actually, AMS is not doing anything particular. I know the Jason Salmon at the Washington Post has done a little more follow-up on that. I've seen some of the stories that he's put together. But yeah, as an organization, we're not doing anything more with that. A lot of that broke shortly before the summer community meeting that AMS held that was in Albany this past summer. And so there were some sessions at that meeting that were specific to that. But I don't think there's anything more that we're doing specifically on that.
Well, my job's to be an agitator. Why then are you guys not? And I'm just being trouble, but
I'll punt right back to you. What ought we to be doing? What would be good for us to be doing on that?
Well, that's an interesting question. We have talked a lot on this podcast on various issues about as things sort of, I don't know, raise people's level of awareness or frustration, that one of the commonalities that we've kind of come on a number of times is that there's really no overseeing body or organization that has any authority over particular things that happen.
There's no sheriff in town.
That's that. If you'd have jumped in 5 minutes ago when I started this, I would have used that, James. Thank you. But yeah, there's no sheriff in town. Do we need a sheriff? And is that the role of AMS or NWA to kind of comment on these types of issues, or is it not?
Certainly, we do comment on some things. I don't think we've had much to say about this particular one. Again, I'm not sure exactly what would have been helpful on this one. Certainly, I think the response of people like Lou Ussolini as director of the National Weather Service supporting the folks at the Birmingham office seemed right on target to me. Mm-hmm. It seemed clear that a lot of the folks at NOAA were put in a pretty tough position. I think all of them tried to navigate that with integrity, but we're in positions that were, I think very hard to navigate. So,
was there a joint statement issued by the AMS and the NWA after that, or was that my imagination?
Now I should have looked that up before we started talking. We did have a statement out talking about the role that the National Weather Service plays, and how important it is for that to not be politicized. And I think NWA had a statement. So I think there was something that we did jointly, but I also think each of us had a statement individually beyond that.
Yeah, I looked it up. That there was one, because all this happened during the NWA annual meeting,
Right. Yep.
in Huntsville, just up the road from Birmingham, and,
Yes,
and we were
right.
all right in the middle of this mess. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
I want to say that statement was released during the NWA annual meeting, but I
that
know there was
sounds
at least
right.
a joint.
Yep.
Because I'm looking at it here, which was very well written. I don't know who put this thing together, but it was very well written.
Mhm.
There are a couple of individuals who had said at the time that they were going to look into this, and I'm so bad at names, but there's one guy, Bill, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, who said he was going to investigate this. He's chief scientist at NOAA or something, who said he was going to do a full investigation. Is it?
I think
I think
IG,
that's-
the Inspector General's report just came
Right.
out. You
Yeah.
know.
Oh, it
Well,
did.
and I think Craig McLean
Yes.
at OAR
Yes.
was looking into this as well.
Right. And I guess that would be my comment in response to your question back to me is, would the AMS or shouldn't the AMS, as not a governing body, but one of our umbrella organizations, sort of go and do those types of investigations? I guess that would be my answer to your question.
Guess we'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
We've tried to play a role that wouldn't have quite that kind of a policing activity.
Right.
But again, I think there are roles. I think there are different roles for different kinds of organizations, and certainly when it comes to issues on integrity of science, or dealing with the politicization of science, those sorts of things, AMS tries to step up to those issues and at least put out statements, or in some cases write letters to deal with that. In terms of doing an investigation, that feels a little outside our scope.
Mhm.
But again, I think you could imagine ways that something like that could be done in different kinds of situations. I'm not sure about this one, but in some situations that might be completely appropriate.
I would be a little worried about that, Kevin, myself. Because if you do anything these days, it becomes so damn politicized that it's just ridiculous, and you're vilified immediately, you're cast aside, or either you're looked on favorably. And I understand what Kevin's asking for, but I'm proud of what the NWA and the AMS did on stepping up. And I got to tell you, Keith, that for a bunch of us that were in this meeting in Huntsville, that was almost surreal that Monday. To watch the people as they came and went. I have to give all the support for a guy that I've known for a long time, and I've worked under him with the annual meetings, as you know, Keith. Louis.
Yep.
Handled it with such class in that room that morning. And but gosh, it's just nowadays you can't say anything without just being vilified, and politically you're thrown to one side or the other, whether you intended that way or not.
Yeah.
But it was the most.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say it was the most bizarre professional meeting I've ever attended.
Yeah.
Because they had me speaking Sunday morning, and me, I'm going off the rails. So most of my time was spent, talking about this buffoonery that was going on here. And then Sunday night, Louis pulled me and Kevin Laws in the Sioux here in Birmingham. He said, I want you guys on the front row tomorrow morning when I'm talking. I'm thinking, wow. And he was great. I mean, Louis lit up the room. And then you had Neil Jacobs coming in there on Tuesday. And that I can't tell you, Keith, how uncomfortable that was. You could hear a pin drop in that room. And his hands were shaking. And he thanked everybody for not walking out on him. And I had compassion for him. I don't know if everybody had compassion for him, but I did. So I don't know Keith, if you were jealous that you didn't have all this drama at your meeting, or you're
I'm just
glad that
the
it didn't
news
happen
cycle's
at your meeting.
36 hours. These
You can
Yeah, I
deal
don't
without
think-
it, Keith. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think jealousy was the issue there, but yeah, and on this issue, AMS is about a third of our membership are government employees, about a third are people in the private sector, and about a third are people in the academic community. We work really hard to make sure that we can tap all three of those sectors as part of our leadership. And so one thing that we try to do very carefully is when we're working on issues that have implications for the government agencies, that we're not doing things that would make it impossible for government employees to serve on our council or be our president. Those are issues that we have to be cognizant of. And if we are in a position where we're doing things that do take on any kind of a politicized activity, then that puts the people that are that work in the government sector and who are part of our leadership in a position where they may run into trouble with their bosses.
Yeah.
And so we do have to be pretty careful about what we do and how we do it. That's true for when we work on issues around legislation or any of those kinds of things. When we're talking to people on Capitol Hill, we do that with great care to make sure that we're not putting any of our members, or especially our members who are in leadership positions,
Well, that's not
in an area that's awkward for them.
Well, that's not, and Keith, having been there and kind of watched what you do and what y'all do, and you're great men and women that are at AMS headquarters in Boston, that's not always an easy trail to navigate.
No, it isn't. It's a very tight rope that you walk there to really make sure that you're doing what's best for all the sectors and all of our members, and not putting anybody in a position of any kind of jeopardy for their work relations.
Yeah, I appreciate you rolling that around. As I said, it was tough. Me personally, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with it, but I'm paid here to be an agitator, as everybody knows.
You're getting paid?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the only one.
No, it was, and for those that don't even, I guess we should briefly just go back and talk about what we're discussing here. This was a Sunday, and I remember it very well. I want to say this was September 1st, the first day of September. The President of the United States put out a tweet that said Alabama will be hit much harder than anticipated by Hurricane Dorian. And that put a lot of people into panic mode that Sunday morning. People right away, look, I don't know why people follow me on social media, but they do. And within minutes, my phone fire hosed here. And so I looked up to see where this malarkey was coming from, and I found out, and I responded directly to it and said, there'll be no impact here. Forget about it. This guy's wrong. And then the Weather Service did the same thing about the same time I did it, but they didn't know. They had no idea where this was coming from.
Yeah.
And so the Weather Service of Birmingham got into a bad situation, and it just got nasty. And I think most people listening to the show know what the situation was, but it was not a good time. It was a scary time for some employees at the Weather Service in Birmingham, but it was so encouraging to see people like the director of the National Weather Service come right to their defense.
Yeah.
No matter what happened, everybody was at risk. I'm probably going to be audited here. I mean, who knows what happens to me? I don't care.
We're
old.
gathering money for support for James Spann and his 2-year policies to go through. So,
yeah. So, but anyway, I do appreciate, Keith, that the joint statement. If there was an individual statement, I didn't see it, but it was a very timely statement. It wasn't long. It was well written. And I will tell you, there were a lot of folks from the Weather Service in Birmingham at that meeting, and they felt that they came in lower than a snake's belly. They didn't know if they were going to lose their job. They didn't know their future. And these are younger people with wives and husbands and kids. And it was a scary time, but the comfort, they felt a great level of comfort knowing that the director of the Weather Service had their back, the AMS, the NWA. So thanks to everybody for supporting them.
So Keith, is there any concern about, it appears to me that science is constantly under attack in a lot of our policy today. Are there any parts of the AMS that are monitoring that process and working on policy on Capitol Hill?
There actually is a lot of that that we're doing. And as I say, we walk a very carefully defined, narrowly defined course in terms of how we interact with both government agencies and policymakers, but we do a lot of interaction. And so we do work with people on Capitol Hill. We do try to monitor aspects of that. We're trying to make sure that the policy is being based on high quality science. We're trying to make sure that that gets into the policy process effectively. Again, always doing that in ways that that don't jeopardize the ability for government employees to serve in the AMS and in leadership roles, but always trying to make sure that that policy is being used effectively. So we frequently go in and have discussions with staff members of people in the House and Senate, on the science committees and on some of the other committees, asking them if there are ways that AMS can help make sure that the right kinds of experts are being connected with them, so that as they're working on issues that have environmental components, that they're getting high quality advice from people who really know what they're doing. And so that's an active area for us. We also do monitor things that are being said and written about to try to make sure that if when science does come under attack, that we, along with other organizations like us, are able to sort of stand up and say, you know, that science does have integrity, that the process of science is one that is not political and shouldn't be politicized. So we really take the integrity of science as an important role for what we do as an organization. So all of those things are things that we're working on a lot, and that consumes a lot more of my time than I would have expected it to, maybe even a decade ago. But it's certainly a big part of what AMS is all about.
Talk about seals and certifications for a moment, and where you guys are with that, the importance of that. And I know Troy's a part of that process, but any new things in the works or any changes coming, any shifts?
Yeah, there actually are some new things. The processes themselves are continually being modernized, and Troy is part of that in terms of moving those processes up to have the exam process and some of the other activities be more online, more accessible to people. So that's a more of an incremental process. We do have a brand new certification that's being launched, and that's one actually for K through 12 teachers. And so we will be actually certifying K through 12 teachers who have taken some additional educational activities in weather, water, and climate, so that they can have sort of a micro credential that shows that they are more well qualified to teach those subjects at the K through 12 level than they might otherwise have been. And so it's a way for them to get some recognition for having put in that extra work as professional development, so that they are better teachers and better able to handle environmental type issues. And we're really excited about that. We think that's going to be something that's popular with teachers, but also means that our science is getting into classrooms more effectively. So ultimately, it really is about making sure that the general population knows more about weather, water, and climate issues, and really understands those a little more effectively. So that's a brand new certification separate from our certified consulting meteorologist certification and our certified broadcast meteorologist designation that Troy's so active in.
So talk about the cost and process for that certification, Keith, if you're up to speed on that. I know there's probably a million committees down from your day-to-day worry about. Do you know any of the details?
I am not remembering all of the details off the top of my head. It's for the teachers. It's a lower cost than the more professional meteorologist certifications that we have. So the CCM and the CBM or I think the application process is a bit more expensive than it is for the teachers. Again, recognizing that, that this is more of a micro credential for the teachers rather than a credential that that actually opens up doors professionally in a way that the CCM and a CVM does. So yeah, and the details of that will be rolling out soon. I don't even think there's anything very specific about that online yet, but it will be rolling out in January, and we'll be offering the first certifications, I think, very shortly after that. So probably by about March or so, they will begin seeing teachers that actually gain the certification.
Well, I have to give a local shout out here in Birmingham to a local 6th grade teacher that I know will be lined up to get that one, because Diane McAlilly, her kids at Pizzitz Middle School launched their weather balloon last week.
Oh, great.
Came down in Norcross, Georgia, and they were able to track it, find it, get the data, and the video is just stunning. The video, the balloon went to 96,000 feet.
Wow.
And
Wow.
kids came back with 6-second data all the way up and down. And you've never seen a more excited group of 450 kids.
Well, I think I would be excited to be part of that too. So yeah. That's wonderful.
And so I know she'll be excited about that process. Now, I know the AMS is getting out of the publications business to some degree. I mean, books, I guess, is what I'm really talking about. Can you talk about that? Because we love all those AMS books. Sarah Jane always done such a fantastic job with that program. What's going on with it right now?
Yeah, you know, it's the books program is one. I think we've published some really outstanding books, but it's very hard to do a small books program and have it be financially viable. We were publishing 2 or 3 books a year. It's very hard to make that work from a budgetary and financial standpoint. So we're sort of dropping back to the position AMS was in about 20 years ago when I first joined the staff, which is that we will still do the occasional book, probably fewer than 1 per year. And they will be ones that where it really is just important that AMS be the publisher for that book. I think in a lot of cases, the books we were doing, even though they were really good books, it was, as I say, it was hard for us as a small publisher to provide the kind of marketing that would really be effective for them, and to really compete in the marketplace for books right now that's a difficult proposition. You either sort of have to jump in and do so much that you start developing some economy of scale there, or you're just not going to be able to make that work. And so we have pulled back a bit in that. We still have several books in the pipeline, so you're going to be seeing books coming out from us over the next couple of years, where we have ones that, as I say, are in the pipeline. They're in some process of production right now, and those will continue. So we do have a couple of books coming out relatively soon, and we have, I think, something like 5 more that are at various stages right now that we'll keep working forward on.
Keith, what about the our journals? The big thing with the AMS, we have the number of journals, including BAMS, which is Bulletin of the American Meteorological Society. I'm going to actually do a plug in a few minutes. My pick of the week is the one of the things as a benefit of membership. We also get the Physics Today magazine, which comes in. I'm going to plug that in a few minutes on something that came out in the one that we got last week. But what's the status of the journals? I've always wanted to ask you, pull you aside and say, how many people actually are getting the journals now basically digitally versus you mailing the journals out, the various journals that we have as part of the AMS?
Well, almost nobody gets the journals in print
these
days. And so
I feel bad for having just shown mine.
You old crank.
It's a very tiny number of people who get the journals in print.
There's 6 of us, by George.
Bill's costing them thousands of dollars a year.
But certainly, so most people access that content online. And that's the way, again, that's the way science is done these days. Is almost all of that stuff is done online. We have been online for many years. We are continue to be one of the highest quality scientific journals online, and that's been true since we first went online. So that continues to be true. The journals continue to be one of the most important things we do. And if you survey the scientific community and AMS membership in particular, and you say, what is the most important thing that society like AMS does? The scientific journals almost always come up as the most important thing. And that was a big part of why organizations like AMS were founded 100 years ago, is to provide that mechanism to share science and to provide the dissemination of research results, and that continues today. So journals are a huge part of what we do, and we continue to be very proud of the quality of the journals and the content that they're part of. So yeah, that's a big part of it. I think most of our journals, I mean, literally, we're at the point of a couple hundred people who are getting them in print, and I should say not just people, either libraries or individuals. It's really down to just a couple hundred worldwide.
Wow, I'm right up there with the libraries and in the obsolete parts of.
Go, Bill.
Way to go, Bill.
but BAM, you mentioned BAM's Troy, and the bulletin of the AMS. That is also undergoing a fairly dramatic change, and starting with this January issue, it's going to be a very different publication, and one that I think is going to be much better. It actually is. We're talking about it as having 3 channels, so it's a sort of a publication that comes in 3 parts in a sense. There will be a part that is still sort of the magazine component, but it will be much thinner than what you've been getting. And so instead of having the first 150 or 200 pages each issue be big, thick research articles, instead, those articles will have, what you'll have in place of those articles are much shorter, sort of, I hate to say summary because that's not quite right, but a short version of that article that gives you just the essence of what those research results are. The full article, the full peer-reviewed article, will still be available, freely available online as part of the online version of BAMS, but the magazine part will have much more condensed versions of that. And I'm really excited about that because I find, and I'm sure lots of other folks are like me, I hardly ever read all of those articles, and I find myself kind of in each of them trying to pick out what I should know from them. You know, sort of looking at the introduction a little bit, looking at the conclusions, looking at the figures and reading the captions, and not reading the whole article. And now what we're doing is we have folks who are working to sort of create that in a way that's much more user friendly, so that all of us really can go through and get the essence of those important research articles without having to really dive into something that often is pretty hard to read. So there'll be that part of it. It's got to be a thinner part. But then in addition to that, something that's brand new is, and still kind of ramping up, but there will be more other types of online content, podcasts, interviews with the authors, other kinds of things that support those research articles, but are independent from them and are ways that can make the science more accessible, make it more human, really try to have all of our members have a better sense of what is going into those research things and what they need to know about them, so that they're better informed no matter what aspect of meteorology they work in. They're better informed in other parts of the field that they may not work in as closely themselves.
Keith, real quick, this is nothing purely but self-satisfaction here that I'm asking this for. But what the BAMS becomes, will it still be accessible like the current BAMS is, and that we get the link to, and you can download a PDF of that BAMS?
Yes.
Okay, that's really important to me. I say that especially for students and
Yep.
this sort of thing. So I just wanted to make sure. I love that
Yep.
PDF. If you even told the people at publications in Boston that someone said something about it, they're going, oh, that's Troy. So
No, that's many of us.
okay.
It's still going to be a fully open access. So all that content will be available. And we do know that that's important for so many people to have access to that. As I say, I think the thing that I'm excited about is that we'll be in a position now where I think you will find a lot of people, the BAMS, the magazine part of BAMS is something that you will read pretty much cover to cover.
Yep.
Rather than kind of skipping a big chunk of it because you're looking at these big 15 and 20 page articles that are a little too dense to sort of dive into. And instead, you'll have much shorter condensed versions of those that give you the essence of those. And if you do want to dig in deep, that's, again, that content's right there ready for you. But being able to just look at it and get the sense of it much more quickly, I think is going to be useful to all of us.
So I have to ask, so it's January and that nor'easter, historic nor'easter.
You did it, James. You're not supposed to do that.
Well, come on. Everybody's got to ask. I mean, do you have a backup? Logan closes down, for a day. I mean, do you guys have a backup plan in case anything like that happens? Because that's all I can think about. It's one of these whopper nor'easters blowing through there.
Run, Keith, run.
We can only hope if we're going to be there.
Well, the joke that we've been kind of kicking around is that if we get everybody to the meeting and then we have some huge nor'easter, then everybody's going to be happy because that means we're all going to be in Boston experiencing what Boston is famous for. And you'll have 5,000 meteorologists who just are giddy that they get to experience this thing. So if that were to happen so that the nor'easter hits before anybody gets to Boston, that's a big problem. If people have trouble leaving Boston, it's not nearly as big a problem because I think most of them will be happy to have experienced it. I have to say, I've been watching this week in January for the last several years, and it has, for about the last decade, been a week of truly beautiful weather.
January thaw.
In January, we've had a couple of years where the same sort of second full week in January, we've hit temperatures as high as in the 60s and 70s, which is not typical for Boston, obviously. So I don't know if that kind of reversion to the norm means that that we're due and we are going to get something big. But even that incredibly snowy winter that we had a few years ago, where we had well over 90 inches of snow, none of that started until the end of January. And so the second week in January has typically been one that has not had weather problems for us. And so we'll just have to see. And again, none of us know yet what it's going to look like, but we will find ways to make that work. And I think given our community, almost no matter what happens, people are going to find a way to get to Boston for this meeting.
Well, I figured, Keith, you would have the 72-day forecast, or we would have that, available to us.
That's right. Yeah.
So Keith, a couple more things. We've had you for an hour. Thanks for your time. Is there still an associate member opportunity for high school students or just weather enthusiasts that want to be a part of the AMS?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's still an associate member. There's a special membership class for students, and it's including high school students, and it's a much lower dues rate. It's only $20 for students. With again getting BAMS and all kinds of other aspects of membership. So certainly we welcome having people who are enthusiastic about the weather, even if that's not their profession. We are looking at doing something a bit more for people that fall into that category. and we've got some proposals that the council is considering. And I really think that in just a few months, you're going to find we're rolling out something that's very specifically geared toward people who are really seriously enthusiastic about weather and climate and those issues, but do not have that as a profession, and having AMS have something to offer them that's much more significant than what we've had in the past.
Awesome. So one more question. Kevin makes 1.2 million a year. What's his annual dues for the AMS?
Go for him, Keith. Go for him.
So for you, I think maybe about 1,500 a year sounds about right.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And it was going to be 1,000 if I hadn't brought up the Sharpie Gate thing.
There's a surcharge. Asking tough questions has a surcharge associated with it.
Checks in the mail.
Yep. Well, Keith, thanks a lot for coming on the show this week, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you in Boston in January. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, and I think it's going to be a great meeting.
To talk about it. It's been terrific to be here.
Great, thanks Keith. Have a great week.
See you, Keith.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All
right. So we are going to, Tony has lost his voice. Tony Rice.
Yeah.
I think he's really quit the show. He didn't want to tell us.
Yeah, about to say he's heard enough of this. He's done with it. But no, Tony is hopefully he'll be back next week. So Aubrey, you got by chance any email you want to do here? I mean, we can.
We do have a few emails. Yes, we
All right.
could.
Well, in that case, let me find my
Roll
email. I got a new soundboard here. I got to get used to this. So here we go. Time now to dig into the good old email inbox and see if by chance anything happens to be in there.
We get letters. We get stacks of letters.
All right. The first one is coming to us from Richard Cook from across the pond. Hello, all.
This is breaking news right here, Aubrey. We need to.
Oh, I guess I've kind of known about it for a while.
Oh, you have. You didn't
So-
share it with us.
Well, wait
So
a
we
minute.
can play the breaking news.
We
I did not
interrupt
know
this
about it.
program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
All right. So our good friend Richard Cook from across the pond, who was a guest on WeatherBrains a couple months ago. He's from Scotland. It's what is it? Stonaway? Is it Stona? I can never pronounce the name of it, but he is from Scotland. And since then, I've gotten a job with the Met Office down in England. I start a week today and begin the mammoth 700-mile journey down to Exeter in England on Tuesday. It's a lifelong dream to work in weather, and Richard is super excited about it.
That's a hell of a daily commute, 700 miles.
I believe he would be moving.
If you just listen to WeatherBrains, then you can get a job in weather. We love it.
Exactly. So congrats, Richard, on your job at the Met Office. I know he's super excited.
Congratulations.
So our next email comes from Steve Holmes from Joplin, Missouri and Iowa City, Iowa. We've got 2 locations on here. A link to a movie. The book on which it's based on is excellent. So this is the upcoming film on the tri-state tornado. Falling to Earth movie will find Ben Affleck going up against a tornado.
Really? Ben Affleck for serious?
Ben Affleck will survive the deadliest tornado in history in Falling to Earth, a film adaptation of the novel of the same name.
No way.
That's
Yeah.
what slashfilm.com is saying.
That's the link. Yep.
Wow. Well, there you go.
All right. So this one comes in from Ryan. Love the show and listen weekly. I would suggest a show based on TV or other meteorologists affected by tornadoes in their broadcast area. I know that David Lane's family had to go to shelter. Did we have this show? Do we have
I
this
don't
show?
know.
Maybe I'm mistaken. I know that David Lane's family had to go to shelter during the May 20th, 2013 storm. Also, Channel 4's Chopper pilot was directly affected by the same storm as well. Oh, you know what it was? Is we were talking about compartmentalizing. Was it last? I believe it was last week when you're on air and your family's kind of in the path. But I think what Brian's suggesting, right? And I think what Brian's suggesting is maybe talking to people who have really had those direct impacts happen to them, which I'm sure that's quite a few, especially if we factor in some hurricanes in Florida and things like that. So that is all I have. So thank you for sending in your great emails. You can always send in a great guest suggestion with some contact information, a show link, anything that you find interesting, maybe an article or just to let us know what you like or what you don't like about the show. We appreciate it. Email at weatherbrains.com, preferably what you like about the show.
Yeah, leave all the
Okay.
criticisms out.
And no, you cannot complain about Kevin.
Wait a
Who
minute.
can complain about Kevin?
No
I'm
one does.
Just doing my job.
He's the
course.
60 Minutes guy.
Exactly.
Right.
So
So James, I'm on at 3 a.m. tomorrow, so I'm gonna bow out.
Ooh.
what do you mean? I mean,
We
got
got
plenty of
6
time.
pellets of sleep coming.
Well, Bill, I have a conference call with the city of Austin at 3 a.m., so I'm going to hang around.
Go down.
Come on,
I'm sure
man.
James is the
Sleep.
lead on the 10 o'clock news desk.
Oh, absolutely. You know that.
How come
'cause
you didn't
we're-
get to interview Trump? Was that a Sinclair thing, or did it?
Uh-oh.
Christopher Sign got to interview him, right?
Mm,
So, no, I told him I've just got one question for him. What's the matter with you?
ooh, wow.
And it didn't get approved, and I was rejected. So they gave the news anchor the deal. Now, I do, for those that don't know, I do some weather work at the University of Alabama home football games. So this past Saturday, Alabama played LSU,
Uh-oh.
and President Trump decided he wanted to come to the game, which makes it slightly more interesting, in that you have secret police, secret service all over the place.
I didn't
but,
know we had that many secret police in the United States.
Did he deliver your audit letter personally?
The question is, I mean, so yeah, exactly. That's how I got my audit letter. But number one, Bill Murray, maybe you know this. So they all have these black outfits that say secret police. How can you be secret
service.
if you have a?
There were a bunch of them.
No, and let me just say that they were the nicest people.
They did a great
could
job.
not.
I have to say, the entrance into the stadium, I think it got worse later. We went early because we knew, and they couldn't have been more courteous and friendly, and did my pat down so nicely.
They, I think the gates
Show
opened at
title.
11. Yeah, that is a show title right there. Bill, do they check your package? I mean, you okay?
Oh, don't go there. Oh.
Yeah, no. No, they had dogs sniff my equipment bags, and
It's another show title.
This is going downhill really quick.
Well, we're going right down the.
dogs.
I don't even how don't even know why we got into talking about this, but anyway,
I
will
just
say that,
thought you should have used a Sharpie in your halftime weather forecast. I thought it was a real opportunity.
but no, our news anchor, the news anchor here, interviewed the president during the ball game, but I was not invited to, and I think we all know why. So let's quickly do the weather roundup here. I want to play the weather ball song. I play this.
When the weather ball is red, warmer weather is ahead. When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When the weather ball is green, no change in the weather is foreseen. When colors blink by night or day, precipitation's on the way.
So weather is kind of big news for a lot of folks. Did you guys see that a plane skidded off the runway at O'Hare today?
Did you see that video, James? Did you see the video from inside the airplane?
No.
No, it's amazing. It's out there. Go look at the video. Someone shot out the window, and you could see where it was going down the runway at one point, and the plane started going sideways, and people are going, no, 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 no. Really, it's an amazing video if you get a chance to check it out.
Goodness, yeah. So that we've got this Arctic, outbreak going on here in mid-November. And we've talked about it. Kevin, you've got, what's your temperature there now? We're doing this show on November 11th. It's about 9:40 Central Time.
I'm sitting in the lobby, so if you'll give me a second on my phone, it's been stuck in the 27.
27. All right.
Yeah.
So
28th, the Kickapoo downtown airport. I never even heard of that, Kevin.
Yep. That's on the southwest side of town, dinky little airport. Yeah, well, we have 17 tonight as a forecast. That's going to be highly dependent on the wind, which is going to have to die off pretty quickly. And I'm a little worried about the cloud cover too. I think that we're going to have enough mid-level cloud cover that we maybe won't do 17, which of course is good, because you don't want broken pipes and things like that.
So Troy, how cold is it in Austin now?
You know, I took a break for a second and I was asked by the Weather Service to check. We're at the co-op site now here, and I'll give a plug to Austin Great Hills. It's the National Weather Service co-op site in the northwest side of Austin. We're at 32.3 and I actually walked out there. The local storm report was just issued. I see it over here, reporting some freezing rain right now and light icing on patio furniture about 15, 20 feet that way.
Wow.
And light little bit of icing, which is I think this whole thing is so weird because we talked earlier this fall when we couldn't get rid of the hundreds into September, and then we had this freeze a couple of weeks ago. Tonight is getting to freezing already. Tomorrow night, Kevin, the mid and upper 20s down here, which will, if that's the case, and even tomorrow out at Austin Bergstrom International Airport, that's the old Bergstrom Air Force Base site, which period of record is back to 1942. Tomorrow's high of 45 will be the coldest max temperature in the period of record at at Austin Bergstrom International Airport. Mid 40s. Previously, the coldest the high had ever been for tomorrow, October the 12th, would be 51 degrees, and tomorrow mid 40s, easily that record shot.
So Aubrey, when does the cold air reach you?
About 4 a.m. Is when it should start to be rolling in. So it was a beautiful day. Gosh, it was just so nice out. So we're still at 57 right now. And of course, our high will be at midnight. We'll continue to cool throughout the day. So I was thinking once we hit our high temperature this afternoon at, 3, 4 o'clock, we have continuous cooling for basically 40 hours because our high is going to be at midnight. We'll continue to cool all day Tuesday, lows tomorrow night around 20 and into the teens. We won't start to rise in temperatures until after sunrise on Wednesday morning, which puts it at about 40 hours of cooling. So we were 67 today, and then our low tomorrow, I'm forecasting 20. That'd be about a 47-degree temperature change in the 24 hours. And if you compare that to the Great Blue Norther from 1911, of course, we didn't have the extreme here in Virginia, but we went from a high of 69 in 24 hours to a low of 12. So a temperature change of almost 60 degrees in 24 hours.
Any wintry precipitation there?
Maybe some blowing flurries. So we get this wonderful, when we have that upper trough swinging in, especially if there's some good energy, upper level energy in place, we can get not only blowing flurries from our Allegheny Mountains, but sometimes the wind can drive out those snow bands and they can drive those eastward. So we get those snow bands actually kind of protruding over the mountain into the valley. And sometimes those can be some intense squalls. Shouldn't be too intense for tomorrow, but it's something we always have to watch for in the wintertime because it could be sunny out and then all of a sudden you have a snow squall that was just driven by some pretty strong winds from the northwest from the Allegheny Mountains, and that can drop a quick half-inch coating of snow and lead to some nasty pileups on the interstate. So I'm not expecting anything crazy, but certainly we could see a couple of rogue snow bands for tomorrow.
James, you and Bill, I just noticed something that just threw up that it just started snowing in Corinth, Mississippi, in northeast Mississippi. How far south is that going to come down into northern Alabama or central Alabama if it does?
Just past I-59, past Birmingham. A few pellets of sleet, little snow flurry action between 3 and 9 tomorrow. So winds have already shifted as far south as Columbus, Mississippi, and Albertville in North Alabama. So the front's getting pretty close to Birmingham.
Our the model that WSI runs, the RPM, it's got everything out of here by 6 a.m., which might be right. It's going to come through real quick. So we might have an ice pellet or something, it rains and it's 31 degrees, but it's going to be so stinking windy. I just can't imagine there being any trouble. Although half the schools in North Alabama are delaying the start.
Oh, really?
I don't know where they're really? I don't know where they're hearing this stuff. I just don't know.
Must be a tornado watch that's going to be issued.
Yeah,
it was a presidential tweet
to do that.
It seems like all of the sources, the Weather Service offices, the TV meteorologists, no impact. But
nobody hears that.
Don't believe. Yeah, I just guess they don't believe it. So they're going to delay that opening. But anyway, so we got to do picks of the week, and then we got to Bill. You got to bail. What's your pick of the week? Let's just go to you.
I'm gonna pick my guests for the next couple of weeks. Mike Linden from My Radar and Brian Newdorf will join us next week. Reed Timmer on the 25th. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We've rescheduled tonight's show, even though it was great having Keith on. He was an awesome stand-in at the last minute. But Nicola Twilley and Jeff Brown talk about forest fires in California. So we're really excited about that. We got an opening on the night, so we'll be filling that. And then Matt Tanner, Delta Airlines meteorologist who's been with us before, will come back and talk about Air Force and Air National Guard weather. And then we've just tonight christened our special hazardous weather testbed show for the 19th. So, and of course, I got to get our old friend Greg Carbon in for his closing of the year show on. He's already committed to it, so that'll come on December 30th. So that'll be exciting. So that's all my picks for the next few weeks, James.
Okay, cool. Mike, Kev, what you got for us?
I stumbled across a really good Frontline documentary since we're at the anniversary of the campfire in Paradise, California, and it was really good. You can watch that online. It dovetails a little bit with Troy's pick as well, Troy.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, last night, Kevin hauled out an hour of my life. I was supposed to be grading exams last night, and I looked at his pick of the week, and fire in Paradise will make the hair on the back of your head just stand up. It's scary. I sat here and my heart beat as you watch it, the way they produced it for PBS. You cannot put it down. It's an amazing program they did. And thank you very much for taking an hour of my life, but very much worth it. It was amazing, Kevin.
Yeah, the pictures were really amazing. It's just amazing because you hear a couple times that, a lot of the video was coming out at like 8:30 in the morning, and it was like it was the middle of the night. And so the pictures are really motivating. I'll tell you the truth, Troy, is that pick came to me from your students. They wanted to distract you while you were doing your exams.
And that's why their exams still saying they haven't been graded on the couch in there. So, but I've got one, and James, and I know you have to agree with me. I mean, Aubrey's very much more academic, but we get part of our AMS membership. I mentioned to Keith just a few minutes ago, something called Physics Today. It's the publication of the American Institute of Physics, and we get that as part of our membership. And I can open that, bless their heart, and most of the articles make my brain hurt after a few minutes.
Amen.
I mean, it's way deep. It's way deep. But there is an excellent article, and this feeds right into what Kevin's talking about. And it's called, this article is in the back of the edition that all AMS members got just last week. It's called The Fluid Dynamics of Wildfires. And it is it's a 2-page article. It's an easy read, and it is amazing. And it fits to read that and then to watch what Kevin has recommended, Fire into Paradise, the PBS Frontline special. They both fit hand in hand, and I really recommend that our AMS members or others get a hold of Physics Today, the most recent edition. It's an excellent article.
Yeah, it was really good. It makes you think about the movement of air. I mean, just even outside of a fire. And
what was interesting in the articles, they had pictures that would absolutely tell you. They would say, this is why you're seeing a break between these two areas. It has to do with the fluid dynamics of the air, of how the convection, because of the heat. And it's truly a very good article.
Hey, Troy, I've got another one for you since your students probably need a little bit more of a break. Inside the Mega Fire.
Oh, thanks, Bill.
The Nova special that ran on the 2nd of October, Inside the Mega Fire.
Okay.
You know what else is what else is kind of chilling, and I did it after I watched this special, the Frontline special, but just punch up Paradise, California on Google Maps and zoom down, and it's kind of heart-wrenching to see, because whenever those satellite photos were taken, who knows, it doesn't look like it's too long past those fires, but just to see rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of square or rectangular piles of ashes is kind of,
and to know there were some people trapped in those homes.
Right.
Well,
right,
Kevin, that's what I was going to mention, to hear, having been involved in this business a little bit in the past, to hear law enforcement dispatchers that are talking to people in houses that are burning down around them, and then all of a sudden their voices go away, and they say, "Are you still there?" And that's it, all you hear. And it really is gut-wrenching to hear that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking. Aubrey, pick of the week.
All right, mine is an article from, I think, the Weather Doctor. It is just something on the Great Blue Norther, which is just one of the historical weather events that I've always just kind of found fascinating, ever since I was a meteorology student. Let's see, we're up on 108 years, I believe, since 1911. So just kind of one of the interesting things from weather history. And I just saw on Twitter, apparently there's a pretty significant meteor in Missouri tonight, and a spectacular video of it just behind the St. Louis Arch in St. Louis. If you go to my Twitter at WHSV OBS, AUBS, I just retweeted that. There's 2 videos that I saw. So pretty spectacular. Apparently there was a sonic boom in addition to the great large meteor. So.
And what is this Twitter you're speaking of?
Oh, yes. You know what? And
It was the downfall of America.
You could actually still go to Twitter even if you're not signed up. That's the cool thing on Twitter.
Twitter, you say?
Yes.
Okay. It used to be all the rage. Well, I guess that's it for the show since we hung around long enough for there's somebody behind you there, Kevin.
Hey, Bill, I'm going to call you at 3 a.m. in the morning, by the way.
Call me. I'll be up. Call me, Alabama. That's one of our famous lawyers here. All their billboards say, call me, Alabama. So call me, Troy. WeatherBrains is the weekly netcast. It's all about weather. We do this on Monday nights generally and have a good time. Special thanks to Keith Sider for standing in tonight for our special guest talking wildfires. We've been talking about it a lot. We'll talk about it again on December 2nd with Nicola Twilley and Jeff Brown because it really is an important topic. But until next week, when we get together again, I'm Bill Murray, along with the whole WeatherBrains gang here, wishing you a good week. And as I always say, have an eye on the sky because you'll always have something fun to look at.
Wow, that St. Louis meteor video is really something.
Isn't that incredible?
Look at. I know.
So, picture perfect.
Yeah, it really was.
Well, good luck,
All right.
Auburn.
Thank you. I'll give you guys a full report next Monday.
Cool.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Take care.
All righty. The first weather segment is over. Got to do the main weather segment over here, but great having Keith on the show tonight. Thanks a lot for you for watching and for listening. And we'll see you next Monday night. I got to go back in the studio. So y'all have a great week. Thanks for watching and God bless.